The mist clung to the trees in the blue mountains, a silent shroud embracing the peaks. It was a world of green and blue, where the air hung heavy with moisture and the secrets of centuries past. The sun, still hidden behind the towering peaks, cast long ethereal shadows that danced across the landscape. This was the Maroon sanctuary, their fortress, and their home. Darkness pressed in on all sides, a tangible presence that seemed to whisper warnings. The forest floor was a maze of tangled roots and fallen leaves, each rustle and snap a potential threat. The canopy above formed a dense ceiling, blocking out the moonlight and creating an atmosphere of perpetual twilight. It was a world where senses were heightened, and survival depended on vigilance. Every shadow held a potential danger, every sound a possible enemy. British soldiers moved slowly, weapons drawn, eyes searching, their heavy boots sinking into the soft earth. They were intruders in this world, ill-equipped and out of their element. The weight of their muskets and the sweat on their brows were testaments to the arduous task before them. They marched with a forced confidence, but beneath the surface lay a gnawing fear of the unknown. They knew danger was close, lurking just beyond the veil of leaves and shadows. The air was thick with anticipation, a palpable tension that tightened their muscles and quickened their pulses. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig sent shivers down their spines. They scanned the surroundings, their eyes darting from tree to tree, searching for any sign of movement, any hint of the enemy. Suddenly, a sharp whistle echoed through the night, a piercing sound that shattered the silence and sent a jolt of adrenaline through the soldiers' veins. It was a signal, a call to arms, a declaration of war. The whistle hung in the air, a haunting melody that spoke of defiance and resistance. It was the voice of the Maroons, a warning and a challenge. Maroon warriors hidden in the thick undergrowth sprang into action, their bodies painted with earth and leaves, blending seamlessly with the forest. They were the shadows come to life, the guardians of the mountains, the protectors of their freedom. With silent grace and deadly purpose, they emerged from their hiding places, ready to strike a blow for their homeland. Spears flew, launched with deadly accuracy, arrows whistled, cutting through the air with lethal speed, and startled soldiers fell, their cries of pain swallowed by the dense foliage. The ambush was swift and brutal, a whirlwind of chaos and violence. The British soldiers, caught off guard, were easy targets for the Maroons' deadly assault. The Maroons melted away, vanishing like ghosts into the dense undergrowth, leaving behind only the wounded and the dead. They moved with an uncanny familiarity, as if the forest itself was their ally. Their knowledge of the terrain allowed them to disappear as quickly as they had appeared, leaving the British soldiers bewildered and demoralized. This was not a rare event, but a common occurrence in the long and bloody struggle between the Maroons and the British. It was how the Maroons fought, a war of shadows, ambushes, and hit-and-run tactics. They understood that they could not defeat the British in a conventional battle, so they used their knowledge of the land and their skills in guerrilla warfare to their advantage. They struck fast, with lightning speed and deadly precision, using the forests and mountains as their shield, their sanctuary, and their greatest weapon. The rugged terrain provided natural cover and concealment, allowing them to launch surprise attacks and disappear before the British could react. British troops, weighed down by heavy coats and fear, struggled to navigate the treacherous terrain, could not keep up with the agile and elusive Maroons. The dense vegetation and steep slopes slowed their progress, making them vulnerable to ambushes and attacks. The Maroons' knowledge of the land was unmatched, passed down through generations. They knew every stream, every stone, and every path, every hidden trail and secret passage. The mountains were their map, and the forest their guide. Their courage was born of desperation and hope, fueled by a burning desire for freedom and a fierce determination to protect their way of life. They fought for their lives, for their very survival against a powerful and relentless enemy, their families, their children, their wives, their entire community, who depended on their strength and resilience, and their freedom, the precious liberty that had been stolen from them and that they were determined to reclaim. To the British they were rebels, outlaws, and a threat to colonial authority. To their own people they were heroes, leaders, and symbols of resistance against oppression. The story of the Maroons is full of moments like this, moments of bravery, cunning, and unwavering determination. It is a tale of daring, skill, and tactical brilliance, a testament to the courage and resourcefulness of a people fighting for their survival, and the unbreakable will to be free, a spirit that defied the odds and inspired generations to come. Their wars changed Jamaica forever, shaping its history, its culture, and its identity. Their legacy continues to inspire and remind us of the enduring power of the human spirit in the face of adversity. The story of the Maroons is a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who refuse to be enslaved. Their journey began, as so many transformative movements do, with a simple act of defiance: escape. They were enslaved Africans, ripped from their homes and families, brought to Jamaica by force on brutal slave ships. The journey itself was a horror, a prelude to the unimaginable suffering that awaited them. The planters, driven by greed and the insatiable demand for sugar in Europe, wanted them to work the sugar fields under the scorching sun from dawn till dusk, with no respite from the cruelty of their overseers. Their lives were reduced to one purpose: to enrich their oppressors. But some, fueled by an unquenchable thirst for freedom and a deep-seated refusal to be broken, refused to accept this fate. They harbored a burning desire to reclaim their lives, their dignity, and their heritage. They escaped into the wild, dangerous hills, seeking refuge in the island's rugged interior. The mountains offered not comfort, but a chance at liberty. At first, these escapees were few, a trickle of individuals daring to challenge the system. Each successful escape was a spark of hope, a testament to the possibility of resistance. They hid in caves and thick forests, using the natural landscape as their shield against recapture. The wilderness became their sanctuary, a place where they could begin to rebuild their lives. They moved at night, under the cover of darkness, always watching for patrols, their senses heightened, their survival dependent on their vigilance. Every rustle of leaves, every distant sound could signal danger. Over time, more people joined them, drawn by the promise of freedom and the hope of building a new community. The trickle became a stream, then a river, as more and more enslaved people risked everything for a chance at liberty. Some came alone, driven by their own personal breaking point, their own unbearable experiences of cruelty and oppression. Others brought their families, determined to protect their loved ones from the horrors of slavery and to build a future where their children could live free. Soon, small camps, mere clearings in the forest, grew into villages, vibrant communities where the Maroons could practice their traditions, cultivate the land, and govern themselves. The Spanish had ruled Jamaica before the British, establishing their own system of exploitation and oppression. When the British invaded in 1655, seeking to expand their empire and control of the lucrative sugar trade, the Spanish, in a desperate attempt to defend their territory, freed their slaves to fight against the invaders. Many of these former slaves, distrustful of both the Spanish and the British, and having tasted the possibility of freedom, escaped into the mountains, choosing self-determination over allegiance to either colonial power. They joined with those already hiding there, the initial wave of escapees, creating a powerful force of resistance and a vibrant mix of cultures and experiences. This mix of people, united by their shared experience of enslavement and their unwavering commitment to freedom, became the first Maroon communities, forging a new identity in the heart of the Jamaican wilderness. The Maroons took their name from the Spanish word cimarron, a term that reflected their status as runaways and their untamed spirit. It meant wild or untamed, a fitting description for a people who had defied the constraints of slavery and carved out their own existence in the most challenging of environments. The British, viewing them as a threat to their colonial authority and the stability of their plantation economy, saw them as threats, outlaws who needed to be suppressed. But the Maroons, with their deep connection to the land and their fierce determination to protect their freedom, saw themselves as survivors, resilient warriors who had overcome unimaginable adversity. Day by day, brick by brick, the Maroons built a new life, a society based on their own values and traditions, a testament to their resilience and ingenuity. They would never return to slavery, never again submit to the chains of oppression. Their freedom was hard-won, and they would defend it at all costs. They would fight to stay free, employing their knowledge of the terrain and their unwavering courage to resist any attempt to re-enslave them, becoming a symbol of resistance for generations to come. Maroon life in the mountains was undeniably hard. Every day presented a new challenge, a test of resilience against the harsh realities of their chosen freedom. Resources were scarce, the terrain unforgiving, and the constant threat of discovery loomed large. But despite the hardships, it was a life defined by freedom, a freedom hard-won, fiercely protected, and deeply cherished. It was a freedom to govern themselves, to practice their traditions, and to raise their children without the yoke of slavery. This freedom fueled their spirit and bound them together. To ensure their continued freedom, their villages were deliberately hidden, nestled deep within the most inaccessible parts of the mountains. These weren't just settlements, they were sanctuaries, carefully concealed from the prying eyes of the outside world. Thick, impenetrable forests and treacherous steep cliffs served as natural barriers, providing a formidable defense against potential invaders. The landscape itself was their ally, a silent guardian protecting their way of life. Only those who possessed an intimate knowledge of the land, those who understood its secrets and its rhythms, could navigate the hidden pathways that led to their communities. Outsiders would find themselves lost and disoriented, unable to penetrate the Maroons' natural defenses. The trails were more than just paths, they were a carefully guarded secret. The Maroons were masters of self-sufficiency, living almost entirely off the land that surrounded them. They understood the delicate balance of nature and worked in harmony with it to provide for their needs. Skilled hunters, they ventured into the forests to hunt wild pigs and birds, supplementing their diet with the bounty of the natural world. Hunting was not just a means of survival, it was a skill passed down through generations, a vital part of their cultural heritage. They cultivated the land, growing essential crops like yams, bananas, and cassava, ensuring a sustainable food supply for their communities. Their agricultural practices were adapted to the challenging mountain environment, demonstrating their ingenuity and resourcefulness. Survival in the Maroon communities depended on cooperation and mutual support. Every person, regardless of age or gender, played a vital role in the collective well-being of the village. Women were the heart of the community, cooking nourishing meals, caring for the children, and even taking up arms to defend their homes when necessary. Their strength and resilience were essential to the survival of the Maroon settlements. Men were responsible for hunting, constructing sturdy homes, and standing guard, protecting the village from external threats. Their skills and vigilance were crucial for maintaining the safety and security of their families and communities. Strong and decisive leadership was absolutely vital for the success and survival of each Maroon community. Each group had its own chief, a respected figure chosen for their wisdom, courage, and ability to guide their people. Among the many Maroon leaders who emerged throughout history, the most famous was undoubtedly Cudjoe, a brilliant strategist and a symbol of resistance against oppression. Other notable leaders included the legendary Nanny, a fierce warrior and spiritual guide, and a Kompong, a skilled negotiator and military commander. These figures and many others played crucial roles in shaping the history of the Maroons. The chiefs were responsible for maintaining order within the community, making important decisions that affected everyone's lives. They led their people both in times of war, defending their freedom against external threats, and in times of peace, guiding them towards prosperity and stability. Facing a much larger and better equipped enemy, the Maroons became experts in the art of guerrilla warfare, using their knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. They employed a range of tactics, including camouflage to blend seamlessly into the forest, cleverly designed traps to ensnare their enemies, and ambushes to strike swiftly and decisively. Their settlements were not merely places to live, they were carefully fortified defensive positions designed to withstand attacks and protect the community from harm. And if attacked by overwhelming forces, they could melt away into the dense forest, disappearing without a trace, only to reappear later to continue their fight for freedom. The British colonial forces often branded them as elusive and difficult to defeat, but for the Maroons, their tactics were simply a matter of survival, a testament to their unwavering determination to remain free. The First Maroon War began in the early 18th century. Tensions had been rising for years. The British wanted to crush the Maroons and reclaim runaways. The Maroons wanted to protect their freedom. Raids and skirmishes turned into open war. The British sent soldiers into the mountains. They burned crops and villages, but the Maroons fought back fiercely. They struck by night, then vanished. The British were frustrated and afraid. Cudjoe became the face of resistance in the west. In the east, Nanny led her people. The Maroons' tactics were new to the British. They used horns to signal and confuse enemies. They set traps that killed or wounded soldiers. The war dragged on for years. Neither side could win outright. The British lost men and money. The Maroons lost friends and homes, but their spirit never broke. By the 1730s, the war had reached a stalemate. The Maroons held strong in their mountain forts. The British tried to starve them out by burning fields and blocking supplies. Still, the Maroons survived. Fierce battles erupted near key villages. At one battle, Cudjoe's warriors ambushed a British patrol. The enemy was shocked by the speed and skill of the attack. Cudjoe became a legend among his people. Stories of his bravery spread across Jamaica. The British tried to use African trackers to hunt the Maroons, but even these skilled men struggled. The forests were just too thick, the Maroons were too clever. The British grew desperate. Cudjoe began to consider peace. He knew his people could not fight forever, but he would not accept defeat. He demanded freedom and land for his people. In 1738, the British called for talks. They sent Colonel Guthrie to meet Cudjoe. The meeting was tense. Cudjoe stood tall, his warriors at his side. He demanded respect and freedom. The British agreed to a treaty. The Maroons would stop raiding plantations. In return, they would get land and their freedom. Both sides signed the deal. It was a rare victory for an enslaved people. The treaty was not perfect. The Maroons had to return future runaways. They also had to help the British put down slave rebellions. Some Maroons did not like this, but most saw peace as a chance to build and grow. The First Maroon War was over. The Maroons had won their freedom, but the peace was uneasy. The British never truly trusted them. Tensions simmered beneath the surface. Years passed, but peace did not last. The British grew suspicious. They watched the Maroons closely. They feared another uprising. In 1795, trouble exploded again. This became the Second Maroon War. A small dispute in Trelawney Town sparked the conflict. The British accused the Maroons of breaking the treaty. They wanted to punish them harshly. The Maroons refused to bow. They fought back with the same courage and tactics as before. The British changed their approach. They used more soldiers and crueler tactics. They brought in bloodhounds from Cuba to hunt the Maroons. The fighting was fierce and bitter. The Maroons could not win this time. They were outnumbered and outgunned. Their villages were destroyed. Their leaders were captured or forced to surrender. Defeat brought harsh punishment. The British decided to remove the Maroons from Jamaica. Hundreds were rounded up and forced onto ships. They were sent far away, first to Nova Scotia in Canada. Nova Scotia was cold and strange. The Maroons struggled to adapt. Many fell sick. Others died from the freezing winters. Life was hard, but they held on to their identity. After a few years, the British moved them again. This time they went to Sierra Leone in West Africa. Here they joined other freed Africans. Some built new lives. They never forgot Jamaica, or the mountains they once called home. The exile was a cruel end to their struggle, but even in distant lands the Maroon spirit survived. The Maroon Wars changed Jamaica forever. The Maroons proved that enslaved people could fight back and win. Their courage inspired others to resist. Their names became legends in Jamaican history. Today, Maroon communities still exist in Jamaica. Places like Accompong and Moortown remember their ancestors. Every year they celebrate their history with music, dance, and stories. The Maroon struggle is taught in schools. Statues and memorials honor leaders like Cudjoe and Nanny. The story of the Maroons is a source of pride for all Jamaicans. Around the world, the Maroon story inspires those who fight for freedom. The Maroon Wars were not just a Jamaican story. They were part of a global struggle for freedom. The Maroons showed that even the most oppressed could rise up. Their victories echoed across the Caribbean, the Americas, and beyond. Other enslaved people heard of the Maroons. They dreamed of escape and resistance. The Maroon legacy helped inspire revolts in Haiti, Suriname, and the United States. Today, the world remembers the Maroons as symbols of hope. Their fight reminds us that freedom is worth any struggle. The spirit of the Maroons still burns in Jamaica, and everywhere people stand up for justice. The Maroon Wars remind us, the fight for liberty never truly ends.